And I want to go back to the Philadelphia corridor. I mean, Netanyahu today, as you noticed, he doubled down that Israel needs to control this area, and this is complicating the negotiation process and also the Egyptian role as a mediator, because Egypt is rejecting that. Are you trying to give proposals, for example, as from the U.S., solutions for this impasse?
We are, and we have. We have presented a number of possible solutions to the various parties to how to ensure ensure security in the Philadelphia corridor and to prevent smuggling along that corridor. And I would add, without getting too much into the details, that a number of those solutions do not require the ongoing presence of Israeli forces, and we have made clear that we are opposed to the long-term presence of Israeli forces inside Gaza. It's one of the principles the Secretary outlined back in November, just a month into this war. So if you look at the way that the proposal is set up, it calls for, in phase one, the withdrawal of Israeli forces from densely populated areas, and in phase two, the withdrawal of Israeli forces from other areas of the Gaza Strip. There's a negotiation from phase one to phase two. Obviously, that's not going to be an easy negotiation, just as getting to phase one has not been an easy negotiation, but we're going to continue to push for a resolution because, as I said in response to your other question, it is, we believe, self-evidently in the interests of Israel, as well as, of course, the Palestinians and others in the region.
One last question, I want to go to the West Bank. There is an ongoing Israeli security operation there. I mean, faded down, but it was for the last 4 days in Jenin and Tul Karam and other areas. But at the same time, there was also a settlers movement that seized thousands of dunams. I don't know what is that in square meters or kilometers in the area. And as we know from previous attempts, once they seize it, they don't leave it. They don't get away with it. I know that the U.S. policy is against it. You always raise this here on this podium or somewhere else, but you don't do anything about it. So what are you going to do to stop this settlers movement inside the West Bank?
So a number of things. One, I think it's important to restate the principle, which is we believe that the government of Israel's settlement program is inconsistent with international law. It's a point that we've raised publicly and also made clear is the conclusion of the United States directly in meetings with the senior-most leaders of Israel. We have also made clear that Israel needs to do more to crack down on extremist settler violence. And you have heard us say from this podium, and you've heard other leaders in the United States government say that if Israel doesn't take additional steps to stop settler violence, we will. And you have seen us impose sanctions on extremist settlers who have engaged in violent activities. You have seen us sanction organizations involved in violent settler activities, and we will continue to take those steps. And I can tell you, the government of Israel, you've seen some of their public complaints about those steps, have made quite clear to us that they strenuously object to those measures that we have taken, and we have made quite clear in return that we need to see more action from them to stop settler violence and hold settlers accountable, extremist settlers accountable. And if they don't take those actions, we will take the actions available to us. Yeah, so
just to follow up on some of the corridor talk that we've had. You talked about this yesterday a little bit, but in the bridging proposal, the first phase, there's the language is that the IDF would be removed from densely populated areas. And you said that includes the Philadelphia corridor. In your view, is it possible to evacuate soldiers from all densely populated areas, but still have a military presence all along the border between Gaza and Egypt?
So I don't think I should get into public discussion of matters that very much remain a subject of ongoing negotiations.
But it's a factual question.
I understand, and I hope I very much understand it's a factual question, but I think you can understand that is very much the underlying nature of that question is something that remains a very important part of the ongoing negotiations, and I think we ought to keep the details of that private, despite some of the public statements made by other parties.
And I'm just going to push on that again, but have the Egyptians expressed a willingness to go along with a solution that leaves Israeli troops along that crossing?
I think I will let the Egyptians speak for themselves as to what they may or may not support.
Sure.
Yeah, keep
Can you
that.
just